Hi there, this is Boaz. Today is Wednesday. Let's see, what is the date today? We are August 6th. I thought I might try to make some videos. It's a time period when my job ended about a month ago. I'm living here in Nyland co-housing. That's been really interesting. I'm 48 years old. That's kind of come as a surprise. Kind of suddenly I'm here, older than I thought, and anyway, life hasn't always been easy, but I do have a lot of experience in certain areas and a lot of interests, and maybe putting a video together would be of interest to people. My background is in particle accelerators. I worked at, I got my PhD at Stanford, at the Stanford Linear Accelerator Center. I worked with Alex Chow as my PhD advisor, working on electron beam dynamics. I studied intrabeam scattering, the process of the electrons scattering off each other inside stored inside a synchrotron. I also studied the basic linear dynamics in those systems. I've been several years, after being there at SLAC, I got a postdoc at Brookhaven National Lab, and I worked there. Johan Bengtsson was my PhD, or my postdoc supervisor, and I had 3 years there, working on the NSLS2 synchrotron light source. And after that, I got a job, another postdoc at the European Synchrotron Radiation Facility in Grenoble, France, and there was an upgrade project for the ESRF storage ring, and I was involved with that, along with just some basic physics and software. I worked on the accelerator toolbox beam dynamics code at the time. And I helped develop a collaboration around that. It was called AT Collab, and I reached out to a lot of people and brought them in and tried to keep one well-defined body of code that people were working on what am I trying to say? One well-defined body of code on GitHub, right? Anyway, after after I did that, after I had 5 years as a scientist position there, and then I moved back to the U.S., and I got a job with the Radiusoft, with David Weiler as the CEO, and I worked there for 8 years, and maybe 7.5, and worked on a lot of different topics there. Got a grant related to beamline controls, so that has to do with the X-ray beamlines. That's the radiation that comes off of the electron beam, and that passes down the beamline and then interacts with the experiments. And X-rays have a very short wavelength, and so they can be used short, as in angstrom, typically 10 to the minus 10 meters, and so that can be, and that's a typical distance between atoms in the world, and so that can be used to understand the small structure of the universe, of the world that we live in. And I've been thinking a bit about kind of the whole process there. What is this particle accelerator, that then connected to the X-rays, and then that looking at the smallest scale, the atomic scale of the world, and then kind of how does that fit into our lives, and thinking and reading about the overall scientific enterprise and how to go up from there. I was kind of going into particle accelerators. There was an expectation that I would work on high energy physics, and it's certainly a fascinating area that amazing things were figured out in the last, 30, 50 years. But I just felt like I didn't want to spend my whole life on that. I've had this idea that I wanted to kind of not go to the extremities, that there's already been a lot of exploration of the extremities, and we need to kind of bring that in and work more on the center. We need to have a center to things, and so I've been appreciating reading different philosophers and trying to think about how this rather far-flung scientific enterprise can be integrated more into our understanding of our daily lives and scale, the scale that we live at. I've been reading a book called The World Behind the World, by Erik Hoel. The World Behind the World. And that had a beautiful section on reductionism and this sense of, he calls it causal emergence. So there was Philip Anderson's More is Different, which he references, but we want a more robust understanding of that process. And causal emergence sounds like an important piece piece of that to understand how higher level systems, the world at a larger scale, relates to the world at smaller scales, and that you can understand that there's actual causal efficacy in the ways we think there are. That here's an object, these glasses, a pen, and these things actually influence things. There's actual influence there, and at our scale, my moving around has an impact on the world. It's not talking about giving a list of all of the elementary particles in this room. There's a sense in which it's not very useful. So causally, and in order to talk about causation, I mean, I read what's his name, Judea Pearl's book about the Book of Why, where he talks about causality, and he talks about the do operator, the counterfactuals, that you have to actually make changes, and so that's a little bit foreign to physics in a way, because we want to just describe what actually happens and just let things go, whereas doing something suggests there's some outside force that you go in and make a change. Of course, you can still use physics to understand the outcome of those choices. In any case, that's something I'm interested in, this causality, and that concept of causal emergence is really fascinating. So that, to me, is a little bit of a closure, or when we enter into these deep areas of research, of exploration, it should be, I feel like they should be integrated in some way, or connected to issues of importance to ourselves, to people. I mean, so I felt the need to kind of take my journey in particle accelerators and contextualize it. And so I've done some paintings around that. I've have a set of some paintings of X-ray beamlines, of particle accelerators. They're very, I mean, I have my own style that I've developed over many years, and so connecting the particle accelerators to the experiments, and then the experiments through this causal emergence to the larger scale, is kind of a path through this intellectual landscape that corresponds as well to real things in the world, and real understandings we have, and real artifacts or technologies that we've built and operate. And so that feels good. It's less disconnected. If I were to work in that area or go into some of these details of the particle dynamics, or the X-ray dynamics, or the experiments using the X-rays, I kind of have this bigger picture now that fits together. So I will, I'm not very used to this, but I think about it a lot. I don't always express it, so maybe by doing more of these videos I can get a little bit better at encapsulating some of my thoughts and where I am in my life and journey. There's another piece to where I'm going right now related to climate science, and I've been trying to connect my work to climate science as well. So maybe I'll end this video right now and see what it involves to put it up on a YouTube channel. Thanks for listening.